Good morning class. Welcome to class 10th science. Today my topic is circulatory system in human being. So today we will study about the transportation system of organisms and what are the components that helps in the circulation. Then we will discuss about the circulatory system. Let's start with the component. Component of circulatory system includes heart, blood and vessels. Blood. As you all know, blood is a connective tissue. Blood has different types of cells like RBC, WBC and platelets. Blood contains a pigment, hemoglobin, which binds with the oxygen, which has affinity to bind with the oxygen because during the exchange of gases in alveoli alone, blood cannot take sufficient amount of oxygen for a huge body. So the pigment hemoglobin helps to bind with more oxygen so that it can be utilized by the body for respiration. RBC, WBC, white blood cells. White blood cells mainly helps in fighting with infections. Platelets, another type of blood cells, helps in clotting of blood. Whenever there is any injury, the blood gets clot because of the platelets. Along with these cells, blood has certain functions like it helps in the transportation of oxygen and carbon dioxide from one place to another, like from lungs to cells of the body and from cells of the body to the lungs. Second is vessels. As we all know that we have a closed circulatory system. Closed circulatory system means a system where blood flows in ducts, blood flows in vessels. So there are three types of vessels like arteries, veins and capillaries in which blood flows. And since the body is very big, so alone blood cannot move to upper part, lower part and to the different parts of the body. So it needs a kind of pump to circulate the blood in the entire body. And so the function of heart is like a pump. Heart works like a pump in our body. It pumps the blood from cells to the lungs and lungs to the cells. Let's move to now this circulatory system has two types of blood. One is oxygenated blood and one is deoxygenated blood. What is oxygenated blood? Oxygenated blood means the blood which has oxygen and it gets oxygen from the alveoli. As we have already discussed in respiratory system that during at alveoli blood gets exchanged or gases exchange occurs in blood. The carbon dioxide moves to the alveoli and oxygen fills to the blood. So the oxygenated blood is the blood that travels from alveoli to the cells so that cells can take and use the oxygen. Then oxygenated blood is carried by a kind of vessels which are known as arteries. In last slide we discussed about arteries. Arteries is a type of vessels, right? So oxygenated blood is carried by arteries. The other one is deoxygenated blood. Deoxygenated blood is the blood which lacks in oxygen, or we can say which has carbon dioxide. It gets carbon dioxide, it takes carbon dioxide from the tissues, from the cells where respiration has already been occurred. So when respiration is done, carbon dioxide gets produced in the cells and blood takes that carbon dioxide from the cells, and that blood is known as deoxygenated blood, and it leads to the lungs to get oxygenated. So deoxygenated blood carried by veins. Deoxygenated blood carried by veins. So now the other type of blood vessel is veins. Arteries carry oxygenated blood and veins carries deoxygenated blood. Now let's move to the difference between arteries and veins. As we have discussed that arteries carries oxygenated blood, so they are thick walled. Why they are thick walled, that we will discuss when we will discuss about the working of the heart. How does heart works? Arteries are deeply situated within the body, means they are not superficial, we cannot see them. They are red in color and they carry oxygenated blood. Oxygenated blood from heart. Arteries carries oxygenated blood from heart. And veins, they are thin walled, they are superficial, they are blue in color, and they carry deoxygenated blood from body cells to lungs for diffusion. This is the structure of heart. Let's discuss about different parts of the human heart. These are the vena cava, or we can say the bigger veins. These veins take deoxygenated blood, or the blood which has carbon dioxide. These two vena cava takes deoxygenated blood and the blood reaches to the heart, which is our pump. Next we have right atrium. The upper chambers, our heart is 4 chambered. The upper chamber are called atrium. The atrium on the right side is called right atrium. The atrium on the left side is known as left atrium. So these are kind of rooms. We can say there are 4 rooms in a heart. So the upper rooms of the heart are called atrium, and on the right side it is right atrium, on the left side it is left atrium. Similarly, the chambers which are below are called ventricles. Again, right ventricle and left ventricle. There is a muscular wall called septum which divides the 4 chambers, the left chambers and right chambers. Then comes the aorta, the biggest artery. As vena cavas were the larger veins, aorta is biggest artery, and through this aorta purified blood goes to the body. These are pulmonary arteries and pulmonary veins. Pulmonary arteries and pulmonary veins works opposite to arteries and veins. As artery carries oxygenated blood, pulmonary arteries carried deoxygenated blood. As veins carries deoxygenated blood, pulmonary veins carries oxygenated blood. I hope this is clear to all of you. In next video, we will discuss how blood flows through the heart. Thanks. Class 10th Science.